Hi everyone. So today I'm going to be doing the Survivor 50 cast assessment, and I have a very special guest, my friend Jake Haney. How are you doing, Jake?
Good. Thanks for having me, Anthony.
Yeah, no problem. So before we start, I want to ask you, what has been your experience with Survivor? Like, when did you start watching? When did you become a fan of it?
Yeah, I've been watching Survivor for a long time. The first episode I ever remember seeing was the final six gross food eating challenge in Survivor All Stars.
Mm,
And then I started watching regularly midway through Survivor Guatemala. And Exile Island was the first season I saw all the way through live.
all right, good, nice, nice. And since then, you've just been steadily watching Survivor.
Yeah.
Good. So when you first heard about the cast for season 50, what were some of your first thoughts?
Well, I actually, a lot of people were disappointed about the cast, and I definitely do think there are some omissions, but actually, now that it's been a while, I think they did a pretty good job. I mean, I would have loved to have players like Jerry Manthe, Rob
Hmm.
Snow, Jonathan Penner on the cast,
Right,
but
right.
overall, I think it's they did a pretty good job.
Yeah, I think so too. So how we're gonna do this is I don't have it like I don't have the cast assessment listed as the teams. I listed them from the first time they played Survivor. So that's how we're gonna go through this.
Right?
All right, so oh, okay, hang on. Okay, our first contestant to talk about is Jenna Lewis Daughtry. She played in Borneo and All Stars. Her best placement was third place in All Stars. She is a resident of Woodland, California, and she is a realtor. So I think we're gonna take turns. Discuss like I'll go first, and then you go first, and then for the next contestant, vice versa.
Sounds good.
All right. So Jenna, I have to be honest, the last time she played was 2004, and a lot has changed since then. So I don't know how she's going to deal with all the advantages and the twists and all just 26 days with no rice. It's going to be interesting. I don't know how well she's going to do, but what are your thoughts?
Jenna, I was at first confused about her inclusion on the cast, but I think her low threat level is actually going to be an advantage for her. Like, it's been so long that she's played. There was a time where she was like one of the most hated people in the Survivor fandom, but so much time has passed. I've come to look at her differently, and I'm actually excited to see her back this time. And I could see her being kind of a dark horse player, slipping under the radar. And I don't know if she could get that far, but it would be a really cool full circle moment if she did end up winning the whole thing.
Yeah, that's definitely it would definitely be full circle since she was on Borneo, one of the first people to ever play the game. So we'll see what happens. Up next, Colby Donaldson. He played Australian Outback, All Stars, and Heroes vs. Villains. His best placement was second place in Outback. He resides in Austin, Texas, and his occupation is a rancher and a welder. So, what are your thoughts on Colby?
Colby is a Survivor legend for sure. He was the all-American hero, like the first true breakout star of the show. I mean, people even started naming their kids Colby after him.
Yes.
That quite an impact to have. And I still remember like him choosing to bring his ally Tina over Keith to the final tribal as costing him the $1,000,000, and that's still like one of the most famous Survivor moments ever. And Colby has always been a physical player. I don't never been much one for strategy, and at this point, I don't see him changing that much this time. Although I am just curious to catch up with him after 15 years. Ironically, I think he actually looks better this time around than he did in Heroes versus Villains, so we'll have to see if he can, recapture that glory.
Right. Well, I definitely agree. He looks much better right now than he did in Heroes versus Villains. Um, Hopefully, he can play better because Heroes versus Villains was probably a real disappointment to all the Colby fans out there. Um, Definitely it will be interesting to see how he interacts with some of the new era players, and we'll see if he can bring the social game as well as the physical game. So it'll definitely be interesting to see what he does 15 years later. And up next, we have Stephanie LaGrossa Kendrick. She played Palau, Guatemala, and Heroes vs. Villains. Her best placement was second in Guatemala. She resides in Dunedin, Florida, and her occupation, she's a recess monitor and a mother. So, Stephanie is, I think she's always struggled with the social game. Physically, she's very strong, but it's a question of whether or not she can gel with some of these people. Like obviously she's played with Colby before, and so maybe there's a connection there. But it'll be interesting to see how she does it. Because like Colby, she's been, although she had, even though she's been out of Survivor for 15 years, she's done other reality shows like um, that snake show that was on TBS that had Suri and um, Janelle from Big Brother. She was on the first season of The Traitors. So it'll be interesting to see how she takes stuff from there and transfers it to Survivor.
Definitely. Stephanie was, for a long time, one of my favorite players. Her second season, Guatemala, was, like I said before, one of the first I ever watched. And, but I really think her whole legacy has been based on her original season. That's how she got invited back the first time, second time, and now third time. I just don't know if she'll be able to coast off of that again. She didn't do too well in Heroes versus Villains, but I'm definitely curious to see how she'll react to this modern gameplay.
Yeah, definitely. So next we have Cerie Fields. She played Panama, Micronesia, Heroes vs. Villains, and Game Changers. Her best placement was third place in Heroes vs. Villains. She resides in Jersey City, New Jersey, and she's a registered nurse. This is Cerie's fifth time playing the Survivor, but previously she played Big Brother, she played the Traitors and won the game. So, what are your thoughts on Cerie coming back for Survivor 50?
Suri is another absolute Survivor legend. Jeff famously calls her the woman who got off the couch and played Survivor, and I think that's a perfect description of her. Um, she has never been one for the physical game, but is a master strategist. Her move in Survivor Micronesia, getting Eric to give up his immunity necklace. It
Truly one of the greatest moments in Survivor
Yeah,
history.
that's my favorite episode in the show history. She has always like had this ability to be at the forefront of the game, but never been the main target. Um, she's never even actually been voted out by normal methods. She was idled out once, went out in a tiebreaker once, and even became the first player ever eliminated by default.
Mm,
And she there's a lot definitely riding on her legacy in going into this season. She's probably the biggest threat going in, but I actually can see her making it deep into the game again because she's always been very good at managing her threat level, which is not something I can say for a lot of players in this cast. So I'm hoping she'll do well this season.
yes, and I forgot to mention in terms of other games she played, she actually did play Survivor recently. She played the Australian Survivor, Australia versus the World with Parvati, Tony, and then, all the other people from that season. So, with Suri, I definitely feel like obviously her threat level isn't as high as you would expect because when the 24 cast members just were asked who they would vote out first, Cerie's name didn't come up. So I definitely think she can just come in. I'm just really hoping that she doesn't get advantaged out again because we know from trailers that some stuff is going down. So all right, let's move on to Ozzy Lustin. He played in Cook Islands, Micronesia, South Pacific, and Game Changers. He got second place. He currently resides in Guanajuato, Mexico, and he is owner of Zolazul, which I believe is some kind of alcohol company. So, Ozzy, he's always been great with challenges, but not so great with the social game. Um, he says he wants to try to improve on that. I don't know if it's going to happen. Obviously, whichever team he's on, the team that he's on, they're going to keep him for the physical challenges and then probably vote him out once they get to merge. But we'll see. What do you think about Ozzy?
Yeah, I agree. Ozzy's main strength has always been his physical game. I can see him making the merge this time, but um, so Ozzy's main strength has definitely always been his challenge prowess. His one, I think, actual gameplay move was getting his tribe to vote him out so he could go win a Redemption Island duel. Um, and that actually worked, but really, that's about the extent of his gameplay. I think he'll definitely be kept around for the pre-merge, but I um like Colby and some of the other old school players. I just don't see him changing that much this time around.
Right. Okay. Let's continue with Benjamin Coach Wade. He played Tocantins, Heroes vs. Villains, in South Pacific. His best placement was second place in South Pacific. He's a resident of Susanville, California, and he's a music teacher, a coach, and a dad. All right, so obviously one of the most iconic characters in Survivor history, very polarizing. Some people really love him, and some people can't stand him. where are you on the coach train?
Coach has got to be one of the most iconic Survivor characters ever, and I'm actually disappointed that they don't cast more people like him nowadays. His social gameplay and gameplay in general has been iffy, but he's always been entertaining to watch, and that's something I think the show really needs. So I hope he sticks around. And from the preseason interview stuff I've heard, it sounds like a lot of people on the cast have been enamored with him. So I hope that'll give him some good people to work with off the bat.
Yeah, definitely. So obviously, Coach, iconic character. Uh, the martyr approach for the episode in Token Chains, very much a top tier episode in my mind, and it'll be very interesting to see because he hasn't played since South Pacific, so it'll be interesting to see how he has matured and how he'll use his um, coachisms to try to get ahead in the game. So, all right, and up next, we're skipping all the way to 31, no, 32 with Aubrey Bracco. She's played Cal Wrong, Game Changers, and Edge of Extinction. Her best placement was second in Cal Wrong. She resides in Hampton Falls, New Hampshire. And on the website, I got the pictures. I could not find what her occupation was, it wasn't listed anywhere. Um, I really like Aubrey. I'm glad she's back. I think Cal Wrong was probably her best game, and then it kind of just tickered off afterwards. I think she has had time to mature a little and to really reflect on her Survivor experiences. I think she could be a dark horse, and I think she can make it far. Hopefully, she's improved her social game because those are part of the reasons why she didn't win. But what are your thoughts?
I like Aubrey too. I think actually she has one of the bet one of the better advantages of the people that have played pre-game changers. She kind of hasn't done as well in her most recent seasons, but I think that could be an advantage for her to slip under the radar. And I she's always interesting to watch, so I hope that is what happens.
Yes, definitely. All right. Mm. And next we have Chrissy Hofbeck. She played in Heroes versus Healers versus Hustlers. Her best placement was second place. Currently lives in the Villages, Florida, and she is an actuary. So, what are your thoughts on Chrissy?
Prissy, I know you're not a fan of her, but actually, I have been waiting for her to return. She's tied the record for most individual immunity wins by a woman with four. And I think she had a real shot to win her season if it wasn't for that twist that got introduced last minute.
Hmm.
Final Four fire making. She is like the original person that got screwed over by that twist. So I've been waiting for her to come back for a while. As far as her chances on this season, I I'm iffy about it. She is the quote unquote older woman this time around, and I could see her maybe some of the other players not vibing with her. And so if her tribe does end up going to tribal council, I'm worried for her there.
Right. Okay. So, I'll just make this quick. I don't like Chrissy. I've never liked Chrissy. I hope she goes home early. I will say one nice thing. I do, or like one defense of Chrissy. I do think she was screwed over royally with the Final Four fire making challenge, a twist that continues to haunt Survivor season since then. And yeah, let's move on. All right, and up next we have Christian Hubicki. He played in David versus Goliath. His best placement was seventh. He resides in Tallahassee, Florida, and his occupation is a robotics professor. So this was one of the contestants that I was really excited to come back. I love Christian. I think he is a very charming person. I think he has a lot of potential to make it far in this game. I think he can hopefully connect with a lot of people, get them on his side, and go far in the game. What do you think?
I'm definitely really happy to see Christian again. He was my favorite character that season. He My favorite moment of his is when he outlasted Alec in that 5 hour endurance competition.
Mm,
He just seems like a really great guy. Um, and I want to see him do well. So I hope he does.
same here, same here. All right. Up next, we have Angelina Keeley. She also played in David versus Goliath. She got third place. She resides in San Diego, California, and her occupation is an entrepreneur. So, Jake, when Angelina comes on to Survivor 50, do you think she's going to bring a jacket with her?
She better be bringing that jacket with her. Don't think it'll be Natalie's, though.
No.
Her own. Yeah, there is a lot to say about Angelina. She's the all along with the jacket gate. Um, is I think otherwise also known for being the original rice negotiator, and so she has that going for her in Survivor history. As far as her gameplay, she was very chaotic, messy at times. And I'm worried for her this season that, because she's got that reputation of being difficult to control, people aren't going to want her around. So that could be an issue for her if her tribe ends up going to tribal council.
Right. So, obviously she has iconic lines, the jacket, the rice, just the question is, has she matured enough to become Angelina 2.0, or are we just going to get Angelina from David versus Goliath? That's, I think, is the main question right now. If we're getting Angelina from David versus Goliath, I don't think she's going to last very long. But if we see an Angelina 2.0 that is a little more mature, can handle herself better, not as chaotic, I think she has a chance to make it far. I do, so let's move on. All right. Next we have Mike White, Lotus White. Seasons played David versus Goliath. His best placement was second. He lives in Hanalei, Hawaii, and he is a director. So Mike White, I'm worried because obviously he has directed The White Lotus, one of the most popular shows of the 2020s. So I don't know if they're just going to keep him to try to maybe get on the show because he's known for casting his fellow Survivor contestants. I don't know how he's going to maneuver his way through the game. I think out of all the people returning, I think Mike has the biggest question mark.
Yeah, I'm gonna add to that. I think, honestly, of all the players, Mike has the worst chance of winning. I just don't see any way he can make it to the end and get the votes. And yeah, I really think he was cast because of what he's done for White Lotus. He actually has been friends with Jeff Probst for a while, and he's added a lot to like behind the scenes gameplay. In It was actually him who convinced Jeff not to bring Redemption Island back for San Juan del Sur, and so I definitely see like where his close relationship to the game is coming, and I do think people are going to want to work with him initially because of who he is. But I really don't see him having any path to the end where he can win.
All right. And to round out the old era, we have Rick Devens. He played Edge of Extinction. His best ranking was fourth placed. He resides in Macon, Georgia, and he is the DOC at Middle Georgia State University. So, what are your thoughts on Rick Devens?
Rick has, I think, a huge target on him going in. I believe, found and played the most idols out of any player in Survivor history in a single season. Um, there are a lot of heavy hitters on this season, and I think he's rightfully among them. Um, but as far as his where that's going to land him in this season, I am skeptical about his ability to make it far. He focused a lot on his strategic gameplay. I don't know if he'll have the social skills to back it up and make those relationships that'll take him further in the game.
Yeah, I agree. I think Rick Devens is a huge threat coming into this game. Um, but he had, like you said, he has found the most idols out of anyone who's been on Survivor. So maybe he can rely on that. If not, it might be very likely that he could be one of, depending on if his team loses, he may be one of the first people to go. So we'll just have to wait and see. All right, now we moved on to the new era players with Jonathan Young. He played in 42. His best placement was fourth place. He resides in Gulf Shores, Atlanta, and he is a beach service owner. Definitely, definitely an interesting pick. Obviously, probably one of the best challenge beasts in Survivor history. He definitely helped his team along, making sure that they didn't go to tribal council. His social game was not the greatest, to say the least. But ultimately, it'll be interesting to see because 42 was one of the first New Era seasons, so I think he's had time to really go over it. And apparently, he had been talking to Boston Rob about how to play the game and all that. So we'll see if that does anything. What are your thoughts on Jonathan?
Jonathan is definitely a physical player. That's um, definitely the first thing you think of for him. He's like kind of the new era James. I don't remember his um, social and strategic game being that bad. So I'm curious to see where he'll go this season, but he's definitely going to be a big target at the merge for being a physical threat. Question is whether he's learned enough from last time to have those relationships that'll take him further.
Right, right. Okay. So next we have Emily Flippin. She played in 45. Her best placement was 7th place. She resides in Laurel, Maryland, and her occupation is an investment analysis. So, what are your thoughts on Emily?
Emily was one of my favorite characters that season. She went from being the person everyone hated to the person everyone was rooting for. And I think the question for this season is which side of her are we going to see? Maybe some sort of combination of both is going to be the key for her making it far this season. But I think she has potential there.
Right, yeah, so totally agree with you. I could not stand Emily the first few episodes, but I think throughout the season, she definitely grew to be more of a likable contestant. The question is she gonna bring back Emily from the first 3 episodes of Survivor 45 or the Emily from the last few episodes of Survivor 45 that she was on? I think that is the key in order to see how she does in this game. And then up next, we have the first winner in this season, Dee Valderez. She played 45. Her best placement was first place. She resides in Miami, Florida, and she is an entrepreneur. So obviously, Dee played a very dominant game in her season. A lot of people who watched her season and who watched the entire New Era feel like she is the best winner, and it'll definitely be interesting to see if the other contestants will see her as this big threat or if she can slip under the radar this second time around. What are your thoughts?
I think Dee is definitely the most dominant winner of the new era, but I have to say, I think all the winners are cooked right off the bat. But I will say that I could see Dee having the best chance of wiggling her way in and finding those cracks in the alliances on her tribe and sneaking in there.
I could definitely see that as well. Let's move on. All right, so up next is Tiffany Irvin. She played 46. Her best placement was 8th place, so far the worst placement of all the people on Survivor 50. She resides in Los Angeles, California, and her occupation artist and creative director. Um so what are your thoughts on Tiffany being here?
I was at first confused about her addition on the cast. There are a couple of other new era players that I would have taken before her, like Carolyn from 44 or Jesse from 43. Um, I think she's probably going into the least remarkable player on this list, but I could actually see that being an advantage for her. I think about the previous All Star winners, Amber, Sandra, and Sarah Lucina from Game Changers. None of them were super remarkable coming into their All Star seasons, and they ended up winning. So, if that trend were to continue, I could see her doing really well.
Yes, I think Tiffany is going to be underrated. I question why they chose her when they had a lot of new era players that did really well and showed some strategic chops, but definitely feel like there could be potential for her to be the Amber of Survivor 50. I think she has a lot of potential to lay low, not really stir the pot, and I think she can make it. I think she has the chance to make it far in this one in this season. So All right, up next, probably the most polarizing player between both the new era and the old era, Hugh Burdett. He played 46. His best placement was sixth place. He resides in Germantown, Texas, and his occupation is a real estate broker. Q was very interesting to say the least. Yeah, he did play a good game. He had control, but unfortunately, right before the final five, his torch got stuff, and like many players that season, he left the game with an idol in his pocket. Um, I don't know. I don't have a lot of hope for Q going far in this competition. What are your thoughts?
Hugh has got to be the biggest character of the new era so far, and I think we need more of those on the show. He was someone I was rooting against, definitely, towards the later half of that season, but he was always entertaining to watch, whether he was creating the Q skirt or threatening to quit, which I'm still not super clear on what his intention there was, but he was always there and in your face, um, even with his gameplay too. So someone who is really the one of the big stars of that season. As for how he's gonna play this season, from the pregame stuff, it sounds like we're going to see the same Q. He's definitely leaning into that image he created his first season, but I don't know if the other players on this cast are going to want to work with that. The one thing I can say is he's on the Vatu tribe, and that's kind of been, from what I've seen, from what I'm seeing from all the fans, gonna be like the disaster tribe of this season. So he could thrive in that environment, but as far as long term, I don't see him having a good path to the end.
I agree with that. And let's move on to the next player, Charlie Davis. He also played 46, so that's three people who have played 46. His best placement was second place. He resides in Boston, Massachusetts, and his occupation is an attorney. So, how long do you think it will be before he brings up his love of Taylor Swift?
Oh, um, in the marooning challenge, definitely we'll hear about it. Uh, Charlie is definitely the biggest Survivor Taylor Swift fan we've
Yes,
seen.
yes.
Um, I really think he had a good shot to win his season. He famously, his ally Maria didn't end up voting for him at the end. Ouch.
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
and I think he's back for a vengeance this time. I'm I really liked watching him in 46, so I hope we get to see more of him this time.
I definitely agree. I think out of all the new era people, I think he is the fan favorite to win. I do think he was screwed over by Maria, and I think he can play a good game. My only concern is because he did play a very strategic game, and I'm wondering whether or not the other tribe mates and the other castaways will consider him a big threat to like go far in the game. So that's my only concern, but hopefully, he can work his way through that, try to find an alliance that he can take to the end, and we'll see if he can make it there. So, all right, up next is Genevieve Moshaluk. She played 47. Her best placement was fifth place. She resides in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and her occupation is a lawyer. So, Genevieve, probably the biggest female villain of her season. You know, she just was very strategic, very much kind of cutting the throats of her allies in order to get herself farther from the game. I think she I think she has a lot of potential. Again, with Charlie, I'm worried that her status in Survivor 7 might have the other castaways looking at her sideways and wanting to vote her out early. But I definitely think can. I think she has potential, and I think if she can make it to the merge, then I think she might be good to go. What are your thoughts on Genevieve?
Genevieve was someone I had underestimated on her original season, but I'm glad she ended up doing really well. I was definitely rooting for her at the end. She's probably one of the most strategic players on this cast, and that's a great skill set to have, but the question is, can she manage her threat level in the pre merge? And I think if she can end up doing that, maybe find some shields to hide behind, she could go really far.
I definitely agree. And now let's move on to um, Camilla Carthikesu. She played in 48. Her best placement was fourth. She resides in Foster City, California, and her occupation is a software engineer. Um, so there was some controversy. Wait, did you went with Genevieve the first, right?
Um, Hang on. We should be up to. Um, Hang on, let me work backwards. Um, I should be up for going first this time.
Okay, okay. Just really quickly, there was some controversy with Camila, with Jeff saying that asking her to be on All Stars and then not telling her that Kyle would also be on All Stars. So, what are your thoughts on Camilla, and do you feel like she can overcome her relationship with Kyle?
My Camilla was my favorite character on 48. I loved watching her journey, and but she's always kind of been in Kyle's shadow, and now here she is playing with Kyle again. I remember her saying like she would have said no if if she knew that Kyle was gonna be on the season too. But I'm expecting Kyle to go out early. So say that does happen, then I think this could be a chance for her to forge her own legacy, and I can see her doing really well.
Yeah, I definitely feel like she was probably the best player in Survivor 48. I definitely think, you know, her and Kyle being on the same season isn't fantastic, but I feel if Kyle goes home, I'm hopeful that Camila will be able to write her own story and not have to worry about, as you said, being in the shadow of Kyle. And I'm really hoping that happens because I feel like she really deserves a chance to play her own game, be as strategic and as social as she wants, and hopefully get to the end. That's what I'm hoping. So let's move on to Joe Hunter. He played season 48. His best placement is second. He resides in West Sacramento, California, and he's a fire captain. So I am not excited to see Joe back. I didn't like the way he played 48. The honest people should keep going, and the people who want to play the dishonest game should go home. Actually, my favorite episode of 48 is the one where Thomas goes home, because that is the really the only time that Joe didn't get his way and he was blindsided. So, not excited. I don't think he's a good player. I don't think he's entertaining, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah, Joe kind of felt out of time to me. He's got a very old school mentality about the game to him. I think that could actually jive well with a lot of the old school players on his tribe, so maybe he can pick up something with that, but I don't know if the other players on the cast are gonna like his style of gameplay. And he's a physical threat, so I could see him getting taken out right before the merge.
Yes, definitely. All right, so and now the second winner of the three winners that are on here, Kyle Frazier. He played in 48, best placement first. He resides in Brooklyn, New York, and his occupation is a defense attorney. So, what are your thoughts on Kyle?
Kyle definitely played a good game. First time around, he did the best with what he could work with. And but actually, I'm gonna say I think Kyle is actually gonna be the first person voted out. I don't. He's immediately going from a season. 48 was the last season that everyone got to see before 50 started filming, and that's going to be fresh in everyone's minds. And I don't think they're going to want him to have a chance to um, build up any relationships um, that early on, especially when his ally Camilla is also in the game.
I definitely agree with that. Yeah, I think Kyle did play a good game with, what he had left. Um, I don't, I don't think he has enough pull to really last in Survivor 50. I think it is very possible for him to be one of the first early boots. And because he did win, I don't think a lot of the contestants are going to give him another chance to get to the end to plead his case. So I don't have a lot of hope for Kyle. And then let's move on to the season 49 players, the ones that were pretty much spoiled for us. But anyways, so we have our third and final winner, Savannah Louie. She played 49. Her best placement is first. She resides in Atlanta, Georgia, and she's a marketing specialist. So I think Savannah played a good game. She really, even though people could have voted her out, they chose not to. And obviously, no one has watched on the cast of 50 has watched her season yet. So it'll be very interesting to see if she can get past it to be a two-time winner. What are your thoughts on Savannah?
So I hear Savannah is planning on telling everyone off the bat that she won. Um, when I thought about it, it really wouldn't take a genius to figure that out. So
Hmm.
that's probably a good move for her, but I don't know if it'll help her in the in the long run. I think she's gonna have a target on her back right away, and I don't know if she'll be able to convince people to keep her around this time.
Yeah, especially with a lot of the uh, new era, it's going to be tough. But let's move on to our final contestant, Rizzo Velovic, aka Rizgod. He played in 49. His best placement was fourth. he resides in Yonkers and New York, Westchester, and tech sale. He's in tech sales. So Rizzo, very controversial figure for the season. Some people thought he was hilarious. Other people he got on their nerves. Where do you stand with the Riz God?
Riz God, I can't believe we're actually saying that
Yeah,
here
yeah.
right now, but it happened. And I do think he was a good player on his season, and he earned that badge of honor nickname. And as far as how he's going to do this season, I want to say, even though he did, when they asked the cast who they want to get rid of first, he got the most votes. But I want I have been thinking about people who've played back-to-back seasons have historically done very well. So I think if Rizzo can make it past the first couple votes, he could have a chance of getting into the game, getting into that flow, and really cementing that legacy he's been building. And plus, I think like I said before, I think we need more good characters on Survivor, and Rizzo is in that vein of good new era characters that I want to see on screen.
Yeah, so correct me if I'm wrong, but is Rizzo the youngest contestant here?
He is youngest on both his seasons. I think that's a first.
Yeah, so he's very young. He's obviously very cocky, calls himself the Riz God. So I think especially with the older people, I think he's gonna probably annoy them really quickly, and unless he finds an idol, I don't know how far he'll go, and I don't think he can do the same thing in 49, where he would always be like, I'm going to play the idol, and then he doesn't. I think the people on this cast are way too hungry for the win to let him trick them, basically. So it'll be very interesting to see how he does, if he annoys people, or if he can find a way to be a more charming version of himself.
Mm, those are some good points.
Yes. All right. We've reached the end of our cast assessment. So overall, how do you think this season is gonna pan out with these cast of characters?
I'm we named a lot of good players. I'm really excited to see how they're going to do all together.
I am excited too. It'll be very interesting to see how the old and the new mix up to see what kind of season we'll have. I would love to see certain interactions with certain people to see how that would go. I think it'd be very interesting. So before we end the video, I have one final question. Who do you feel has the most winning potential?
I am going to go with Tiffany Irvin from 46 as my winner pick.
All right, cool, cool. So out of all the players, I think I this is good. She's probably not going to win, but I have to go with Queen Cerie. I think no one said she was a threat, and I feel like if she can obviously she can win if she can find a way to dodge all the advantages, dodge all the things that have taken her out before, and I'm hoping that she does get to the end and win. I think that would be a great close to Survivor 50, to 25
That would
years of Survivor and to 50 seasons of Survivor.
that would be a great ending.
All right. Well, thank you, Jake, for joining me. I hope you had a fun time.
I did. Thanks so much for having me.
All right, and to all the viewers, thank you for watching, and we'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.